Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 66th episode of Let's Talk About Market. So, today, if you see, the Nifty Index had given move on both the sides. At one point, it was looking like that the Nifty Index will move higher, but then the hourly averages kicked in, and we saw some selling pressure over there. And on the downside, again, I mean, from lower levels, the Nifty Index witnessed buying. So, more or less, if we see, you know, it was a very flat day, but action happened on both the sides. So, what is it that the market is telling? I mean, let's try and find out today. But to be very honest, I mean, most of the data points are still the same. The only one observation that I have is majorly on VIX, and that is where there is a little bit of concern building. So how things unfold, we need to see. Just give me a minute. Sorry, sorry, that was an important call. So yeah, basically there is a factor of VIX, that is frankly playing on my mind. So let's discuss, what's next and what should we look forward to. Let me quickly share my screen and please let me know once you all are able to see my screen. Okay, meanwhile, I'll open the Nifty chart. Please let me know in the chat box if you all are able to hear me properly and see the screen. Okay, thanks for the confirmation. So yeah, in the Nifty index again, I mean the Nifty index is hovering around this 40-day exponential average, and more or less, I mean, if you end up doing changing this 40 to 50, I mean more or less the Nifty index is hovering over there. If you see, this is again one trend line which maybe you all want to watch, which is this, right? It is around this level where it is hovering. So we are not getting any decisive move on either side. But one important thing that happened today was that on the hourly chart, the Nifty index did witness some selling pressure. Okay, and this is not a good sign. As you remember, yesterday only we were talking about this, right? That if there is a bullish crossover, there is a very likely chance that the Nifty index will test the hourly averages. But hourly averages and this channel needs to be broken on the upside, okay, for us to say with some confidence that probably the trend is changing. So yesterday it was around 26,000. Now it has moved lower to 25,960, 970 sort of levels. Okay, and remember that the 61.8% retracement of the entire fall is somewhere around 26,080 or so. Okay, so basically on the upside, 26,000 or sorry, 25,970 and 26,080, to you can take the round figure as 26,100. These are important resistance level on the upside which needs to be broken decisively. Okay, else there is a risk of a short term correction in the near term. I mean, there is a case of a correction in the near term. Now, if you see the Bank Nifty index, we had discussed about this, that there is some sort of ending diagonal. Sorry, the falling wedge pattern that seems to be playing out, which is this, right? So frankly, everything is at the edge right now, and we need to see how things unfold from here on. But yes, I mean, broadly, Nifty index not breaking above the hourly averages, or the key indices not breaking above the hourly averages is a bit of a concern. But we need to see whether they just form a base over here and then turn around, or is it that this low is going to break and this trend line will break decisively. I mean, these are the things that we need to watch. Yesterday I'd spoken about this, right? Reliance, which is again a major part of the Nifty index, and you might want to see what is happening in the Bank Nifty. Okay, so even Reliance chart, if you see on the daily chart, it is just consolidating over here. Okay, and the bands have tightened over here. So again, need to see what happens over here. Be a little patient and wait for this crossover to come, for more confirmation. Until then, I would just say that don't preempt. Now I was telling you the risk factor, right? The risk factor is this. So you're seeing this Nifty index and the VIX at the lower end. Okay, so this, if I remove this line, so you can see that the VIX was somewhere over here. Okay, wait, let me get both the chart in sync. Yeah, so you can see over here. Now see, sometimes these type of things can happen, that up move can still happen and there is a divergence, and after that we get a short term correction. But in all these cases, effectively what you're seeing is that on the horizontal line, you end up seeing some bit of dip in the near term. Okay, so that is the risk that is there. So over here also, the India VIX was lower at these levels only, but after that we saw one more move, and after that it saw a short term correction. Okay, so again, if you see now, if I draw the horizontal line over here. Okay, so you can see that India VIX is towards the lower end of the range. And typically what happens is that when the VIX is towards the lower end of the range, there is a case to be made that now complacency is very high and maybe the volatility can increase. Typically when the volatility increases, it leads to the market going down. That has been the case most of the time. So this is one thing that is kind of bothering me. So whether we see something like this happening, where we see an up move and then eventually we get a divergence and after that only we correct, or do we correct right away, need to be seen. But that's where I'm keeping and I'm thinking that probably this should ideally be the reversal level. But as I told you, there are two three things that I would be looking out for. Okay, one is Bank Nifty, one is Reliance, the other one is VIX. How does it behave, and when do we actually see the spike? That is more important. And the low of this break. If all those things happen and there is a confirmation of a downward movement, then there could be this expectation that okay, there can be a correction probably till here or towards the lower level. And how far does it go? We need to see. But typically, if the VIX ends up reaching this level, which is 13, 14, there again you can then expect that probably the the fear which was there is getting over. And maybe now there is a possibility that the market can stabilize. So yeah, so these are the things that I'm watching out for. Now one more thing is that there are few index. Today, if you see, the good part, or you can say the silver lining, was that there was a good amount of pullback that was seen in mid cap. There was a good amount of pullback seen in small cap. It made a doji, and it was micro cap which made a hammer. Okay, so again, things are mixed right now, and that's why I'm saying that wait for the confirmation on the downside, because it can so happen that if this range is not broken on the downside, then you might end up getting those up move as well. So be a little patient. Frankly, I would have given you a a decisive direction if I was clear. But even I am on the edge. So it's a fight between mind and heart. So mind says that eventually it should rise higher, though, because a lot of sentiment indicators that also I have mentioned, especially the medium term ones, they are all towards the oversold zone. So at some point it should rise higher. The only question is that do we rise higher from here right away, or do we first correct and then rise higher, and there will be that final nail in the coffin with this correction. So that is where the doubt is. The as I mentioned, the India VIX being at very low levels is the only thing that bothers me a bit at this point of time. But again, let's see how things unfold, because technically, if you see, this is like a narrow range that the index is in, and we need to see a break on either side of the range to see a trending move. So that's there. And the other thing is that many of the indices, at least in the very near term, seems to be gaining momentum as well as strength. So metal has come back towards the leading quadrant. And if you see the chart of the metal, it is basically holding above the trend line breakout that it had seen. Okay, but over here there is still a bit of a consolidation that is still going on. So need to see how the metal index unfold. Again, the other thing was PSU, which had given a bullish crossover. But if you see over here, if you plot the 20 DMA, it has just halted around that. I think it needs a decisive break and close above the 20 DMA. If that happens, then it would be a good sign for this particular index. So yeah, I mean the ones which we discussed as the stronger ones, for example, IT, that has been holding out pretty well. It was auto only, where it saw meaningful fall. Okay, from there has been a pullback, but the bad news is that it has broken below the 40-day exponential average. So now if it sustains below that, then yes, there is a risk of probably a correction towards this lower end of the range. So this is where we are at. And the other thing that I mentioned was FMCG. Again, there was a doji over here, and it is towards the lower end of the range, so need to see what it does. So lot of stocks index, they are just where they are. They are neither going up nor going down or giving us any significant confirmation. So that's the whole problem. The and see, there is one more thing which is happening, that is US. There seems to be a bit of a correction that has unfolded in the last 1 or 2 days. And now the weekly RMI is in sell over there. Okay, so as I mean, if the weekly RMIs are in sell, then you ideally need to wait for the averages. Okay, so as long as it is above the 20-week average, it is okay. Else there is a risk of a correction, probably till the lower end of the Bollinger Band as well. So these are the things that are playing on my mind right now, and these are the things that I am observing right now. uh, I mean, we have seen in the past that it is, I mean, Nifty is not exactly, following the global market as such. It is doing things of its own. But, sometimes it is better to be aware what is happening globally, so that, you're not caught on the wrong foot. So yeah, I mean, VIX at lower levels, and S&P 500 also, seeing some correction recently, and trading below the daily averages is not particularly a good sign in the short term. And and as I told you, I mean, many of the indicators which are there in the short term, uh, which is like the swing and the average swing and so on, those are in the middle as well. So you would want them to come at some extreme, either up or either down, to make some judgment. uh, so yeah, I mean, that's where we are right now. Again, I mean, don't have much to talk about, because the market is very lethargic. But yeah, I mean, we need to be alert, mainly as I mentioned, because of the India VIX level, which is at the lower end. So so yeah, I think that's it, probably from my side. If you'll have any questions, please let me know. uh, I can try and address them. Are you sure that there was buying? I mean, I don't know whether there was buying or no, but the market pulled back from the lower levels. So I'm assuming that uh, there could have been some buying. But yes, anyways, I mean, in many of the other index like small cap, if you see, there was a doji, right? So if you have to see the basically the candlestick patterns, then you would say this was a doji, this was a hammer, right? So yeah, I mean, these are important levels. Need to see. I mean, of course, if this is hammer, this is doji, whatever it is, then tomorrow we should see a follow through on the upside. So if it does not happen, then it's a problem. So let's see. I mean, as I told you, I mean, I'm frankly, the mind is going both the ways, because there are some evidence of some sectors being strong. Then, but there are other factors which historically points out towards weakness in the near term, like VIX and the global market as well, which is not so conducive right now. So I am not sure, which way things will follow. And that is why, I have been discussing this, all the data points to you, so that at least you are well aware and you see, where what is breaking, so that, you can take actions. I can see a head and shoulders forming on 30 minutes. Okay. I don't usually go down to that lower time frame. But yeah, I mean, on Nifty it could be visible. That is because we are seeing something like this happening. But still, I wouldn't call it as a head and shoulders. I don't know. Very tricky. I mean, because the left shoulder, if you take this over here, it would be very small. So not sure. I don't know if this can be a relevant HNS. Something like this. Not sure, but yeah, I mean, nevertheless, the Nifty index seems to be making lower top, lower bottom pattern, and it is kind of halting around the averages as well. So these are not good signs. Need to see some evidence of a turnaround. Until those turnaround doesn't happen, there is a risk of a downside that we basically need to be open for. So yeah, any other questions you all have? I know, I mean, it's a very dull market, and probably, you don't even feel like looking at the market, but that is what it is right now. Any other questions you all have? I'll wait for a minute or two, if you'll have any questions. If not, then, we can probably wind up the session for today. Any questions? I don't think I can see any. So yeah, we'll wind the session for today. Let's meet up tomorrow. I think tomorrow is okay. Yeah, tomorrow is Friday, so we'll also have a weekly closing. So let's see if there are some interesting observations based on the weekly closing. So let's see. Let's catch up tomorrow.